Hello guys, in today's video we're comparing Sony ZVE10 vs Canon R10 vs Nikon Z30. So the first thing we have to talk about is the build, quality, and design of these cameras. Now, all three of these cameras are pretty compact and small, and you can easily fit them in your jacket pocket or bag. The ZVE10 is definitely the smallest of the three and also has the most simplified design. It does have a command dial on the back for changing the aperture and a scroll wheel for changing your shutter. So it's pretty easy to change your settings on the fly if you're someone that's shooting a lot of running gun stuff. And instead of a mode out, it has a really simple one switch to go between photo, video, and slow motion mode, which is going to make it a lot easier if you're someone that doesn't want to have to mess around with a lot of buttons. If you're someone that's new to cameras, this is probably going to be the easiest one to pick up and get great results with. And next up we have the Nikon Z30, which is currently my favorite camera for vlogging and YouTube videos, mainly because it feels like a real camera in your hands. It has a nice deep grip, and it really feels like a proper camera, but it's small and compact. And it's not that much bigger than the ZVE10 in terms of physical buttons and design. It's got a lot more switches, knobs, and doohickeys on it, so it might feel a little overwhelming if you're new to cameras. But Nikon has really stellar design, and after about a week or so, you'll totally get the hang of it. It does, however, have two command downs or shadow and aperture, along with a mode L to switch between different modes on this camera. Along with this, I really like 3 user presets, so you can set up video photo exactly how you like it and just quickly switch between the 3 presets. And finally is the Canon R10. Now, this camera has a lot of hype on the channel, has a lot of hype on the internet. This is a pretty breakthrough camera, but it's also the most expensive and the most complicated on this list. Right off, the first thing you'll notice about the R10 is that it actually has an optical viewfinder, whereas the ZV10 and the Canon Z30 do not have an optical viewfinder. In terms of design, it's pretty standard 2 command dials for shutter and aperture, plus a mode which is pretty similar to the ZV10. However, it does have a much beefier and deeper grip than the ZV10 or the Nikon Z30, which is going to give you more of that traditional camera feel in your hands. This is definitely the best hybrid camera on this list for someone that equally shoots photos and videos. And one thing that I should mention is that all 3 of these cameras do have a side flip-out screen so you can see yourself while vlogging. And speaking of vlogging, all of these cameras are extremely light. They're super compact. These are ideal cameras for vlogging or someone that needs a small setup for YouTube videos. Or if you're a casual shooter, you just want something that you can throw in your bag, keep in your hand all day as you travel, as you go about your day. All 3 of these cameras will be really good options. However, 2 things that you have to keep in mind when you're making YouTube videos, vlogs, or just casually shooting your life is stabilization and audio. Now, in terms of stabilization, all 3 of these cameras have digital stabilization, which means it uses software to stabilize your video footage. In my opinion, all 3 of them do a really good job, but I think the Canon R10 definitely stands out. It's the newest of the batch, and it also has the best digital stabilization. Along with that, it also has stabilization built right into the lens, which will be super useful for someone that's running around a lot, vlogging, doing high action shots where you need that footage to be stable. The second up is definitely the ZV10. Sony is known for the stabilization, and this camera does a great job. Nikon comes in 3rd place. Now, this is not bad by any means. It just means that the Canon and Sony are just a lot better. Now, one thing that's critical when you're filming yourself is the audio, because we have to be able to hear you. The best camera for onboard audio is definitely the Nikon Z30. It has really good onboard audio, and it's really good at muscling out background noise. You can easily film in busy parks or streets and get really solid audio. Second place definitely goes to the ZV10. It actually has 3 mics built directly into the top of the camera. If you don't want to use an external mic or a shotgun mic that makes your camera big and bulky, the ZV10 is still a great choice. Sadly, Canon doesn't do a bad job with their internal audio, but it's not fantastic either. And this is probably not a camera that I would recommend for using the internal audio. This is definitely a camera. You're going to need a wireless audio mic or a shotgun mic right on top of your camera. Also, something that I should mention, all 3 of these cameras have the ability to plug in an external microphone, but none of these cameras have a headphone jack to listen back to that audio. Alright, so now that we talked about the build and design quality, because believe me, that goes a long way. Let's talk about the specs and the features and how these cameras actually look. So the thing that determines your photo and video quality is actually your camera's digital sensor and the amount of megapixels in that sensor. All three of these cameras have a pretty similar megapixel camera. The R10 is 24 APS-C size sensor, which is a smaller sensor. And the Z10 is also an APS-C side sensor at a 24 megapixel count. So these two cameras are 24 megapixels. However, the Z30 is a 20 megapixel count, which is only a 10% reduction in quality, but that allows this camera to be better in low light and shoot photos at a faster rate. Now, all three of these cameras are going to give you a pretty similar level of quality, but the thing that's going to probably make the biggest impact on you guys are the colors coming out of these cameras, also known as color science. Canon, I would say, has the best color science simply because the colors are warm, saturated. Everything feels very true to life. And the ZV10 actually has what is known as a log profile that's going to give you the ability to really finesse your colors and really play around. But also the log profile is going to give you a lot more dynamic range so you can play around in those tricky lighting situations. But if you're someone who's a video snob like me and you really want to be able to adjust your colors, the ZVE10 and the R10 are definitely your best bet. So that's the whole comparison between these three cameras. In which of them you would like the most and want to use? Let us know in the comment section below. Also subscribe this channel and press bell icon for more video like this. Thanks for watching and have a good day.